name is Khaled al-Ustaz. Before I start, I would like to give thanks to the people who worked so hard to help me come to the United States and be with you today. Among many, I wish to thank specifically Senator Chris Van Hollen, Paul Costello, Kathy Baker, and Brian Barber. I come from the Gaza Strip, where I was born in a crowded refugee camp in the southern part of our small territory. Since childhood, I have lived with my family in a small apartment in Gaza City, which is also densely packed. I arrived here from Gaza 2 weeks ago and have experienced many firsts. First time flying in an airplane. First time on an escalator. And first time meeting a pet dog. It is also the first time I have met an Israeli people out of uniform. But now I have friendships with several Israeli through youth leadership. And I have heard their stories, including stories of their fears and concerns. To my new Israeli friend, Katya, who lives in Ashdod, not very many miles away from my house in Gaza. I want to say I sympathize with the angst you live under because of the rockets that are fired from Gaza toward your home. I understand your fear when you hear the sound of the sirens. I am sorry that you and your family must sprint to the shelters every time you hear the noisy and terrifying sounds, and that you have to huddle in the shelter until all clear signal to disappear. I know how frightened you must have been when you heard there had been violence at the checkpoint through which your parents were traveling. I can imagine how it must have been to wait for the news that they were safe. To Jonathan, whose parents came to Jerusalem from Australia, I want to say that it saddens me to learn that some families are going back to the places they came from because they are no longer feel safe. This is not how people should live, and I'm truly sorry. I can empathize with these stories of my new friends because I have similar experiences. May I share some of them with you today? I wonder if you know in Gaza, drones never stopped circling the sky above my head. This constant noise, which started in 2006 when I was 11. Now, I am 22. Like Katya, I also fear oncoming rockets. But don't feel sorry for me, having to cope with the terrifying sound of the sirens, because we don't have them. Sometimes, if you are lucky, the phone will ring after midnight, and you hear the voice of an Israeli soldier saying, يرجى إخلاء البيت بعد 3 دقائق. بيتكم معرض للقصف. جيش الدفاع الإسرائيلي. Your house is targeted for bombing. You have 3 minutes to leave the IDF. My family lives on the 4th floor with no elevator. The phone rings in every apartment in the building. Within moments, everyone is jammed into the stairway, carrying a few possessions, important papers, and the babies and the children. Can you imagine the collective panic in such a scene? And don't feel sorry for me having to huddle in a shelter, because we don't have them. It would be useless to hide in one, because F-16 jets, missile that penetrate deep into the ground. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the fear of being in a standby mode from an F-16 missile that might, in fact, be directly targeted at you? Like Sabir and everyone, I love my parents and panic at the thought of them being in harm's way. One day, I was walking home from the market and discovered every door in my neighborhood open and every building empty. Where was my family? Where was my parents? Where was everybody? I saw a policeman yelling at me. Later, I realized he was telling me to clear out because one of those calls had come. Can you imagine how I felt to be alone and not know where my mother, my father, my 3 brothers, my sister, or my neighbors were? As I stood there, wondering what to do, 3 missiles flew horizontally across the sky and struck a 10-story building, which collapsed in a deafening crash. I flung myself to the ground, but I was hit by flying rubble and surrounded by a choking cloud of smoke. Can you imagine my terror? I wonder if you know that I have lived the bulk of my life with no more than 6 hours of electricity per day. Lately, it has mostly been 2 hours per 2 days. We use tiny little LED lights to see. And without electricity for days, we have no running water in our upper story building. One other thing I have learned since meeting my new friends is how much more freedom they have to travel. I wonder if you know how nearly impossible it is to get in and out of Gaza. My new Israeli friends have been to the US before, or have traveled in Europe, or have been out of country internships. But we Gazans can't travel like that. We can't leave Gaza by air because our airport was bombed by Israel in 2002 and 2006, and we are not allowed to rebuild it. We can't leave by sea because Israeli ships open fire at any boat more than a few miles from the shore. The closest other airport is in Tel Aviv, but as a Gazans, we are not permitted to travel through it. The closest airport we can use is all the way east in Amman, Jordan. And we can't travel by land without weeks, months, and years waiting for permission. I wonder if you know and imagine how degrading this feels. In fact, for me to be here today, I had to obtain 5 permits from the US, from Jordan, from Israel, from the Palestinian Authority, from Hamas. Each had its own political agenda for delaying or denying the permit. It took me 10 permit applications, 2 years, and some incredible luck to get here. It is my understanding that I am one of the few Gazan students allowed to exit in 2017. I personally know 8 other people who had international study plans but could not line up all the required permissions. Can you understand why I feel a little guilty along with my happiness at being here today? Finally, some might say I have the right to be angry and to hate, but I choose not to be hateful. Meeting violence by violence only begs yet more violence. I choose to move on, to foster a new reality. The priority is not the past, but the future. I choose to look to that future. Thank you.